I'm really happy to be here because I'm not an HR person. But I do believe very much in this movement and this time. So leading through transformation, we have to talk about leadership. We have to talk about transformation, get quick definitions around that, and then put it in the context of HR and why now. It's a point of passion for me. So first of all, leadership. We can read volumes, right? There's 8,500 titles out there right now on leadership, and it goes back for centuries. We don't have a hard time discovering a definition of leadership. I want to talk about it today in the active sense, and for me it's two simple words: lift others. It's important to have, no matter what your definition is, it's important to know that it is not a title, it is not a position, it is action. And it requires unusual strength when you're going into transformation. And while we can have any definition we like of leadership, I think most of us will know you can't really define it until you experience it. Until you've been with and experienced a great leader, you know what it is. You can read forever and not know what it is. So leading through transformation takes tremendous strength. And when we have leaders, we know their true leadership when they've been stress tested. There's no greater stress test than to go through a transformation. What is transformation? I'll keep that really simple. Taking something that exists and making it something else. Clear definition, and we'll use that for the talk. Over the last 100 years, we've become amazing at building systems, best practices, operations, processes, to adjust and analyze any change that would happen. So, like a Rubik's Cube, going the wrong way, no matter what changes take place, right? It can be one simple turn, we can get it back to solid state. It can be many turns that are more complex, takes more time, but we've put patterns in place, we've put processes in place that can always get us back to a level of comfort. Something we know, something we can hold, something we can reform, and is tangible. Transformation is very different than that. So now imagine that you take every piece of this cube and dismantle it. Can you catch this? That is gone. What we know in the past to be solid state, all of the work we've done to build things back into the comfort zone, into the known, into normal, which I don't believe actually exists, but our sense of normal is something we strive for. When all those pieces are broken up and you throw them up in the air, it's like an explosion, right? And what's going to happen is it will not get put back together the way it was before. That's transformation. When we look at what's coming for us next, many will say there is a storm coming. Others, I would agree with, say we are in a storm. The changes coming at us now are more significant than what we've seen in the last 50 years. The analysts will say that we'll see greater change over the next 10 years than we have seen in the last 50 years. There's other numbers that are important. I'll hit a little bit, but mostly I want to talk about perspective. And as we go through transformation, if we're not going to get back to the same solid state we were in, that gives HR the greatest opportunity now to have an impact. I believe this very time right now is the greatest time of need and opportunity for HR. And it has to be embraced, and it can't be conquered, taken. That leadership is going to be elusive if we search for the Rubik's Cube and we want to put everything back together. My experiences have shown that, going through those transformations. Jill mentioned those, right? So you get brought in, you change things, you move things forward in a disruptive state, and then once things are working out pretty well, somebody that's a disruptor gets called in and said, we would now like it to be normal. Well, guess who's not normal? The person that did the transformation. So that is a different skill, and I want to encourage that we embrace that, because normal state is not necessarily where we want to get to. Perspectives change. So if we look at the bottom right corner, there is the eye of the storm. The storm, the changes we're going to see look different from in the eye of the storm than out on the fringes. It looks different from this aerial view, right? Kind of actually cool. Underneath, a lot of bad stuff's happening. It's tough, it's tragic. In the center, where the executive committee sits, where we make decisions that have ramifications out to the wider circle, we don't necessarily have the perspective of what's happening underneath and what's happening out on the margin. Jackie talked about perspective. Claude talked about perspective. It becomes very difficult to get out of where we are and take a look at what the opportunity is. It takes a shift of mindset. And I have to wonder if we're prepared to do that. When we enter the technology explosions that are coming, the disruptive business models that are taking place, we have 4 generations of people working together for the first time, and we're learning that everybody is important, that people that have been on the margins are very important to our business, that learning and having empathy and bringing everybody in to a belief system rather than a leadership system, which is top down and it's hierarchical and it is more controlling. A belief system says I can keep my head up and my eyes forward and I'm going to go another direction. I'm going to end up a place that doesn't exist today. Transformation. When we look at the technology available to us, if we apply it to the old patterns, we're going to fail. And we're good at failing when we try transformations. The middle number up here is 84% of digital transformations fail. $1.3 trillion spent. We spend $1 billion a year on employee engagement, and we've lost the hearts and minds of our employee. What we stop doing as important as what we do next. And to get there, we have to reach out and embrace every one of our people. We have to meet them where they are. We have to be able to carry their burdens and their pains. Paint. Ready? Because leadership and transformation sound like pretty words. They're not. Leading through transformation, you have to be able to embrace people where they are, meet them where they are, take on their pain, wear their burden, and let them excel and exceed. And it's unusual strength, and we don't see it very often. But if you can't lead in that manner, and you are going through this transformational time, you have to step out of the way and bring somebody in that can accomplish that. Grow strong, be wise, lift others, and thank you for being here today.